In an era where digital gaming has evolved from a solitary pastime to a deep social experience, the way we play video games influences how we interact, express identity, and build community in virtual spaces. From the early days of local co op gaming to the rise of expansive multiplayer online worlds, gaming has become a platform for connection, creativity, and self discovery. As technology advances, virtual reality introduces a new dimension to social interaction, blurring the lines between digital and physical presence. This arises an important question. How do virtual reality social platforms facilitate or hinder meaningful social connections and interactions compared to traditional online multiplayer games? Well, I hope to find that answer through one of the biggest online virtual reality games, VRChat. Created by Graham Gaylor while he was a student at Vanderbilt University, VRChat was originally a forum for users to discuss virtual reality. However, it quickly became a game in development as the forum got popular. It first launched on Microsoft Windows and Oculus Rift on January 16, 2014. It was later released on Steam in 2017, which gave non-Oculus VR users accessibility for the first time. VRChat is a massive multiplayer online virtual reality social platform, basically a big social game, but with lots and lots of customization. Users can create, share, and explore 3D worlds while interacting with others using customizable avatars. It supports both VR and non VR modes, allowing players to communicate via voice chat, gestures, and full body tracking, if they have the hardware. One beauty of VRChat is it's accessible to almost anyone, whether you have a full VR setup or just a regular computer. But depending on how you play, your experience can feel very different. The three main categories of play don't affect how you necessarily interact with the virtual world, but more how others interact with you. So here's a quick rundown. Desktop users. People who play VRChat using just a PC. No headset, no trackers, just a keyboard and mouse. As a desktop player, you can move around, talk, and interact with others, but your avatar movements are a bit limited. While you can use emotes and gestures, you won't have the full freedom of movement that VR users do. This can often disinterest people from interacting with you as it doesn't feel as immersive talking with you compared to someone like half body users, or sometimes known as Quest users, people using just a VR headset and only controllers. This is how most people start when they jump into VRChat. I should mention though that you technically don't need a PC to play VRChat, as Oculus has VRChat in an app allowing you to play without a computer. But due to the headset's lack of hardware, it cannot process higher detailed avatars or worlds, often limiting where standalone VR users can go and what they can see. But with a VR headset, you get full head movement and controller tracking, allowing you to physically gesture, high five, and interact in a way that feels way more natural than desktop mode. However, without extra tracking for your legs, your lower body doesn't move freely. It mostly follows your upper body and where your head looks. Even so, this setup already makes a massive difference in how immersive VRChat feels. Lastly, there's the full body user, or FBT users. These people go full immersion, using trackers placed on their waist and feet, allowing them to translate real life movements into the virtual space. Full body users can walk, dance, crouch, sit, and even do acrobatics if they're talented enough. This setup is popular for people who love expressive movement, such as dancers, role players, and performers. And it's the closest thing to actual being inside the virtual world, and the closest thing we'll have to a cheaper version of Ready Player One. But there are some that go even further, with VR headsets that track your mouth and eye movement, translating to in-game movement for their avatars. This is exactly what I have. This is the Oculus Quest Pro, a discontinued headset with face and eye tracking, with 4 other trackers, one on my waist, one on my headset, and one on each of my feet. If you're wondering why I have a tracker strapped to the top of my headset like a satellite dish, it's so I can get continuous calibration, allowing my PC to do the calculations of readjusting where my trackers are so they don't bug out or track incorrectly. Now, let's get back to the game as a whole. VRChat is one of the most unique social platforms out there, where people from all over the world meet, talk, play, and build friendships, often without even seeing each other in real life. But my question is, what draws people to socialize in VR instead of the physical world? For some, socializing in person feels natural. It's how we've interacted for thousands of years. Body language, facial expressions, and physical presence all play a role in how we connect. But VR adds something different, Unlike other social games, VRChat lets players embody an avatar, creating a digital presence that can feel just as real as a handshake or a hug. Whether using a VR headset or playing on desktop, people come here for the same reason: to talk, to express themselves, and to be part of a community that they might not have access to in real life. As a bit of background, VRChat rose into the spotlight more in 2019 to 2022 as the worldwide pandemic stopped many people from having those face to face interactions, and it became more socially acceptable to meet friends and other like minded people on these types of games. We as humans thrive off social interaction, and even in the smallest amount, so finding a way of doing that was helpful in keeping some of us sane. Now, for some of these questions, I wanted to ask the players themselves. For example, here's
Hi, my name's Jasper. I'm from Anchorage, Alaska, and I'm currently using a Meta Quest Pro along with index controllers and a couple of vibe trackers.
Hello, I'm Vinicus. I am from Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm rocking Vive Pro I with index controllers and a couple of Vive trackers as well.
why do you choose VR socialization over in real life socialization?
The way I take that question is more as like you. I mean, I absolutely love going out and like hanging out with friends in real life. I go out and do it pretty much every weekend. But this is still more of a way that I can connect with those friends and like the friendships that I made over the past 3 years while I have been playing. Because especially during when COVID hit and everybody was stuck inside, this like the virtual world VR chat, and it was a huge just like it was a really big opening to people to get out and like socialize with others that you normally couldn't. And I mean it still is. It's still really popular. Because I when I originally got my first headset like 3.5 years ago, that's kind of what started it for me. And I mean I was stuck inside all the time, and it gave me the ability to like get out and well get
Socialize.
out in quotes, yeah, socialize with a lot more people. And then once like kind of the whole quarantine started dying down, I actually went out and I found those really close friends that I made, being you two. And we hung out, we go to conventions, and we do actually spend time together in real life. But this, I don't see it as more of a way that I don't want to be out. It's more of just a more convenient way of interacting with more people when I don't necessarily have time to be out of the house.
Gaming has always been a social activity, from split screen couch co op with your friend to massive online multiplayer worlds. But VR games take it a step further. By taking that monitor or TV screen, shrinking it down, and strapping it to your head, plus having it so close to your eyes, you often have a hard time differentiating game versus reality. VR chat places you inside the game. Instead of watching your character interact, you are the character interacting with players in playable world with real world movement. In VR chat, there's no set goal or objective. It's just people, worlds, and interacting with what you create. That means social norms start to develop, just like they do in real life. Some spaces are welcoming, some spaces are chaotic. And just like any other social setting, finding your place can be a journey. One of my bigger questions for this final is socializing in VR different from real life? Absolutely. In VR chat, the way people interact can be completely different from how they act in real life. Some people feel more calm and confident behind an avatar, while others might struggle to connect in a world without traditional social cues. While the anonymity of VR can help people open up, it can often give people too much confidence to say just about anything they like, oftentimes being very derogatory or hurtful things.
I get it, I'm stoned. You don't gotta fucking make fun of me for it.
Racial slur. With the lack of facial expressions and sometimes body language, it can also make it harder to gauge emotion and intent. Just like in real life, building relationships takes time, effort, and finding the right crowd or community. That's why some people opt for face tracking. Adding a bit more emotion to their virtual character creates a more lifelike feel. Is socializing in VR different from real life, in your opinion, from your point of view?
Obviously, yes, it is extremely different because it's really hard for the human body to comprehend any sort of physical interaction when it's not there. Because, I mean, from personal experience, VR can be degrading and more like just boring compared to real life. Not to say that, hanging out in person can't be stale after you've been to the same meetup or hangout for the past, 30 or 40 times. Obviously, stuff will get stale, but in terms of differences, obviously it's really hard to connect with someone when you know for a fact that you can kind of pick up when someone's putting a mask on. Because when you're meeting when you're meeting someone in person, it's really easy to tell body language, how they speak, how they interact. Obviously, with the introduction of face tracking, full body tracking, haptics, it makes it easier to kind of understand people in VR. But at
The
the same
social cues.
time, at the same time, it's just not at the point where you can fully show what a person is. I mean, if you're taking, like, for example, in Ready Player One, where they had that whole thing where you could turn off your emotions and you can just, be normal. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Like, you still have that ability to hide if you have some sort of reaction to something. But in person, it's more, close, intimate. You're there. You have a lot more to work with. So, yes, I think majority-wise, VR will always be different from the physical world, which I hope will stay like that for a long time.
Not everyone finds it easy to fit in right away. With thousands of public rooms and countless social circles, it can be sometimes overwhelming. Unlike real life communities where geography and routine create friendship, VRChat doesn't have those limitations, as there are no geographical difficulties when meeting other people. In fact, some of the people you can talk to on VRChat can be residing on other sides of the world completely. Is there a challenge in finding a community in VRChat? It's one of them.
Honestly, like for me, I would say starting out, like when you first don't know anybody, it's kind of hard to meet like legit people and like the public worlds, if you will, that are interested in making new friends. Because like public worlds have a stigma of just kind of being like a lot of people that are messing around and trying to mess with people, and maybe like if you're into the furry stuff like this, you go to a furry world, you might meet someone cool, but you might also get a bunch of 13-year-olds screaming at you and saying some not nice things.
One of VRChat's greatest strengths is its diversity. Anyone can be anything, a fantasy creature, a robot, or even just a floating orb. This freedom of expression allows people to present themselves in ways they might not feel comfortable doing in real life, allowing some to talk more freely and openly with others. For many, especially those who feel marginalized or isolated, VRChat provides a safe space to connect with others who share similar experiences. It's a place where identity can be explored without judgment and where friendships are built based on personality rather than physical appearance. For my last point, I wanted to ask a gamer who doesn't have a VR headset and doesn't play a lot of VR games like VRChat their thoughts on how people socialize in VR. So, do you remember that guy a bit ago that was saying some of the not nice things? Yeah, this guy. Well, I decided to poke around and ask him a little bit. Do you think the way people socialize on VR is good or bad? And do you think people should
Terrible.
go outside? Do you think people
I
should
think
go
it's great.
outside?
All right. It's appealing time. Come here, camera. All right, so get this. Right, the invention of VRChat not only ruined the development of other VR game genres. Like every other VR game died. Like Blade and Sorcery is the only surviving VRChat game that has a player base of like 2,000. Pavlov died. Onward died. Beat Saber dead. It's all dead. They had haptic feedback gloves in development for better like hand movement because of Half-Life Alyx. Dead in favor of full body tracking. Why? This game. And get this. Socializing has been ruined. And in part, I think it's VRChat's fault, but COVID didn't help. Because that just forced people to stay inside, and what do? Right here. Boom. They got addicted. And it ruined their developing
My theory is
social
just
skills.
people like adults
This
love
game
penguin.
legitimately should never have been allowed to be played by people under the age of 18. You should have to like driver ID verify to get on this game because it ruins like social development in kids. There's like 11-year-old kids who are like addicted to this game, and it's gonna ruin them for life. They're gonna be like social rejects.
As much as I want this guy to be wrong, he is almost certainly right. Since VRChat's taken off in 2019 to 2021, a lot of other VR games have taken a back burner, as well as his point on socializing. Oftentimes, you do see kids 13 to 18 on VRChat right after Christmas, just because their parents decided to get them a headset as a gift. I also agree it's not healthy to only socialize on VRChat, as my friend Jasper agreed with me beforehand. One more thing I wanted to add was that the objective of this final was to explore a game with a structured plot, a story with a moment of crisis, a climax, and a resolution. But VRChat doesn't follow a scripted narrative. Instead, the stories here are written by players themselves. The conflicts aren't predestined quests or boss battles, they're the same ones we face in real life: miscommunication, disagreements, or shifts in social circles. A moment in crisis in VR chat can be as simple as a misunderstanding between friends, and the climax isn't some dramatic cutscene, it's a conversation that determines whether that friendship mends or fractures. What makes VRChat unique is that these mini plot structures unfold naturally, carrying emotional weight that can extend beyond the virtual world. Unlike traditional games, the consequences of our actions aren't just pixels on a screen, they can have real world emotional impacts on ourselves and on others. So, as a conclusion, to answer my question, virtual reality social platforms like VRChat offer a level of immersion and interaction that traditional online multiplayer games simply cannot replicate. By placing players inside the digital world and allowing for real time body language, gestures, and spatial awareness, VR fosters a deeper sense of presence and connection. Unlike standard games where communication is often limited to voice chat or text, VR enables users to engage with one another in a way that feels more natural and more emotionally prominent. However, this heightened immersion also comes with challenges, such as the difficulty of reading social cues through avatars and potential for toxic interactions. Despite these drawbacks, VRChat stands out as a unique social platform that provides a sense of belonging for many, particularly within niche communities like the furry fandom. The ability to embody an avatar and express oneself without physical limitation makes VR a safe space for people to explore identity and forge meaningful relationships. Unlike structured games with a set objective, VRChat thrives on the unscripted stories created by the users, stories of friendship, conflict, and personal growth that can carry real world emotional weight. Ultimately, while VR social platforms may not replace real world interactions, and they definitely should not, they offer a powerful alternative that can be just as impactful, fostering connection that go beyond the virtual world.